Welcome to today's roll call episode. I'm Kenzie Cook with Guardian RFID, and today I'm meeting with Steve Maynard, Strategic Account Executive with Guardian RFID, on his experience as a correctional officer. So welcome, Steve, and thank you for joining me today.
Thanks, Kenzie. Good to be here.
We're glad to have you here. Steve, you've had roughly, or maybe even over 15 years of experience in corrections, and so today we're going to talk about your experience in hopes that it can provide a little bit of insight or recommendations to anyone that's looking to become a CO or just have a career in corrections. So the first question that I have for you is, what is your background like, and what was it like when you first walked in the facility doors on the first day, day one, as a CO?
Yeah, a little bit of background. I was in for about right at 15 years, all the way up from slick sleeve officer day one, and all the way up to administrative lieutenant over safety and security of operations, and helped run a tactical team of 53 operators. So I got to do a lot between three different jails, actually four different jails with two different agencies. And to answer the question about day one, what to expect, but mine really started as a young kid. Honestly, it did. My dad was in corrections. I remember him being a sergeant, a shift lieutenant, and I would go during the summer and actually hang out with my father at the booking desk. I mean, and hang out with the officers and hang out in master control and watch the inmates play basketball and just, so I got the feel for the jail. It was fun to me to see this atmosphere, so I kind of knew what to expect on day one. When I turned 21. When I turned 21, I started my career in corrections. But saying that, it never prepares you for what to expect or what's going to happen, because you expect the unexpected in this job. Every day, something new is going to happen. You're going to learn something new, whether it's day one or year 30. It's just the nature of the beast. So, from my experience, I came in with an open mind, ready to learn, not expecting to learn everything in day one or year one. So, my recommendation to that as a new officer, come in open-minded, ready to learn and soak it in and be a sponge. Don't expect to be a sergeant year one. Be an officer, do your part, and let the rest take its place.
Of course. So obviously it sounds like there's a lot to unfold and a lot to take in on that day one. Is there a way that anyone who's interested in doing this, that they can prepare in advance? And I'm sure there's a way to prepare, physically and mentally. Those are two very different realms that you both need to be prepared for. So what was your experience like?
Yeah, physically, try to be in good shape. And also wear your uniform with pride. You're representing an agency, a county, or a city, whatever it may be. Wear your uniform with pride. Look good. Have it pressed. Your boots clean, nice haircut, clean shaved beard. Ladies always said, don't have all the flashy jewelry or crazy looking fingernail polish. You're not there to look good for the inmates. You're there to do a job. Safety and security is the job. So, there's so many things that I could say to prepare someone for day one, mentally, physically, emotionally. But come in looking the part, because that's the first thing that the inmates are going to see, and the officers. But the officers really are not going to judge you. The inmates are going to judge you. You come in looking like a slob, they're going to treat you like a slob. You come in looking professional, they at least know you take care of yourself and you're there to do a job, probably do it right.
Mm-hmm. And, another thing that you probably need to prepare for mentally is to be called a rookie, I assume, right?
Yes, inmates are going to call you rookie. That's what they do. They want to see what they can do to get under your skin. They called me rookie, and sometimes that lasts a day, sometimes it lasts a month, 2 months. It just depends on how you respond to this. Officers, they may call joking around, hey, what's going on? But that's fun and games. Now when the inmates start calling you rookie, day after day, it's look, hey man, no disrespect. My name's Officer Maynard.
Sure.
We gotta set the boundaries right then and there. It's not my first name. It's not a nickname. It's Officer Maynard. So you got to set the boundaries. You got to know when to do that in a respectful manner. It's the way you come across and communicate with inmates.
Well, and like you said, you have to set those boundaries. That probably is one of the, top tier things that an officer should know, because inmate manipulation is probably one of the other things that a day one CO, has some anxiety about. So tell me a little bit about inmate manipulation and how real it is.
It's real, and it happens every day. There was one book that I read while I was working in corrections, and that's games that inmates play. And it was a phenomenal book. It had a person on a puppet string, and the inmates were playing with the officer. Now there's a new book by Anthony Ganji, who's a good friend of mine, who has inmate manipulation, and the book is phenomenal. And I recommend it for every agency, every officer. Read the book. I mean, because it goes over exactly how manipulation happens. And without talking forever, inmates know how to play the games. They know how to get under the officer's skin. They work every day to figure out. That's all they have. They have 24 hours a day to think about what can they do.
Mm-hmm.
Can I get this officer to say yes to this, which is against policy? Will this officer move me from cell to cell? Will this officer bring me some contraband? And they're going to pick that officer out. And what I was talking about appearance, you start looking like a slob, you don't look professional, they're probably going to pick you out over someone who comes in looking sharp and ready to do their job.
Right.
So inmates know. They're very smart, they're very intelligent, and they will play these games. And the officers who say no on a consistent basis, and they're firm and they're fair and they go by policy, those are the ones who the inmates won't mess with. But they know they'll find that one officer.
Well, and Steve, I appreciate that you brought up Ganji's book, Inmate Manipulation, because one of the largest takeaways I took from reading that book was that when one officer says no, that inmate needs to understand that means it's a universal no from every single officer in the entire facility. So I think, it's probably important for day one CEO to know that they need to have clear communication with everybody on the front line. So every inmate has the same expectation. What they can hear from one officer, they'll hear from every other officer. Is that correct?
That is correct. And as a shift supervisor, we would get new officers in. The turnover rate in corrections, as we know, is high. We're constantly getting new officers. So we got to keep everyone on the same page. Mm-hmm. We would have meetings and say, hey, here's the deal. Our shift, we have to run operations by policy. Know the rules, enforce the rules, be firm, be fair. Now, we can't help what other shifts do. We hope they are doing the same thing we're doing. But when that doesn't happen, it does create friction between shifts and officers. Excuse me. If I'm coming in and I'm enforcing the rules and I'm doing it the right way, and then tonight's officer comes in and lets the inmates do whatever and get whatever and go from cell to cell, and maybe the officer's bringing in contraband, I don't know, whatever. It makes my job that much harder the next day I come in to work that same unit, because now I'm having to reel them back in and get everybody back on the same page, and that creates friction between shifts, and there's going to be that competitive nature, who's the best shift and all this, but you don't want the inmates saying, well, this shift lets us do this, why don't y'all let us do this? Enforce the rules the right way and make sure it's across the board. The shift supervisors take care of their shifts. The commanders and the administrators are their job is to make sure all the shifts are on the same page. So it's a tough job, and like I said, the inmates are going to try you, but you all have to consistently stay together and on the same page and work together.
So, Steve, it's probably important for anyone who's first starting to kind of make friends with the rest of their line staff, right? Maybe there's a supervisor or even another officer that they can look at as a mentor and someone who can provide leadership for them. How would you recommend trying to befriend that person?
Yeah, every agency, whether it's 5 officers or 500 officers, should have some sort of mentorship, whether it's on a shift level or an agency level. Of course, that first interaction may be with a field training officer. You want your strong officers to be your field training officers, who's firm, fair, and enforcing the rules and knows the job, the dangers of the job and the good things of the job. As a supervisor, I want it to be very approachable, not I didn't want the officers to be afraid to talk to me. So normally I'm the one breaking the ice, saying, hey, how you doing? I'm such and such. I'm sergeant. I'm lieutenant, whoever I may be. As an officer, I was the same way. So I recommend the officers breaking the ice. Go up to these supervisors and these leaders on the shift, these other officers, whether it's at lunch or at shift briefing. Hey everyone, I'm Steve Maynard. It's nice to be here. I look forward to getting to know you all. That's breaking the ice. A lot of, if you're going to be in this field of work, this line of work, you have to be able to communicate, number one. That's going to save you. whether it's with the inmates or with the officers. So go ahead and practice at day one, introduce yourself to everyone and break the ice.
Sure.
Then start working on finding these leaders on the team, on the shift, getting as much information as you can about the job. And like I said, I keep saying it, be a sponge. Take it in, soak it in.
So it sounds like these 15 years of experience, you have seen almost anything and everything under the sun, Steve. Was there anything that you wish you would have known ahead of time when you had first started?
And yeah, I have. I mean, I'm not bragging. Some of the stuff you wish you could forget, because in corrections, you're going to see good and you're going to see bad. There's a lot of bad. Day one was a suicide, a juvenile suicide at that. So that was my first day in the jail. My last day in corrections, I helped deliver a baby out of a toilet
Oh,
and wrap
gosh.
this baby up. Wrap this baby up in a towel and hand it to the nurse with the umbilical cord still attached. So expect the unexpected. Things are going to happen the longer you're in corrections. These things are going to happen, whether it's suicides, natural cause deaths, assaults. I've seen several officers assaulted, almost beaten to death. You don't want that to be you. So day one, go in there thinking about all sorts of scenarios. If your field training officer is really not giving you a lot of input and feedback, start asking them questions. Hey, scenarios. What happened if I walked by this cell and this inmate was attempting suicide or had just committed suicide? Or what if these two inmates are fighting? Do I jump in and break it up, or do I call for assistance? Are they trying to get me in there to assault me, or are they really fighting? So really start thinking about these things day one.
Right.
And you're not going to know it all, but when you get your mind starting to thinking and starting to go through these scenarios, it will help you out and progress through your career. One thing I wish I did day one is, of course, learn the job. But I wish I started thinking like a supervisor, or I wish I started thinking like someone that was above me, because it would have helped me progress a little faster. That is my answer to that question. You as an officer, learn your job, but start learning the next step, the next level. It will prepare you for advancement in your career.
Sure. And Steve, I commend you for, sharing those traumatic experiences with us, because that's something, like you said, you have to expect the unexpected. And something that we, at Guardian RFID, we love to share with correctional officers, especially those who are starting out in this field, is to not be afraid to reach out for help regarding mental health especially. This is a field where you're going to see some things that you wish you hadn't. Like you said, you wish you could forget. So do you have any recommendations for people that are struggling out there that may feel the shame or guilt for wanting to reach out for help?
I was one of those officers. Swallow your pride and your ego day one. That's gone out the window. I tell the new guys that they come in wanting to be a RoboCop. Nothing affects them. I promise you, some of these incidents will affect you. You start seeing, you see a suicide, and you're doing CPR. These things will affect you, whether at work or at home. You have to have someone to talk to, whether it's your spouse, your dearest friend, your preacher, or a mental health provider. It has to be someone. You have to talk to someone and share these feelings and emotions. You don't want it to ball up and then burst during a moment, whether it's at home or it's at work. So be able to find someone that you can trust and talk to them. As simple as that. It took me several years to realize that, but once I did, I felt great, number one. And it was just mentally, it helped me out a lot, where I could say, all right, this happened. Now I can go talk to this person about this incident. So you hold things in, especially events. Over the years, they build up, and it's not good. It's not healthy. Corrections is a dangerous job. It's a stressful job, one of the most stressful jobs. Suicide rate, divorce rate, alcoholism, all this stuff is extremely high in corrections. So find someone to talk to and get help.
Of course. And, just to bounce off of what you said of it being a very stressful job, I'm sure it's also the most rewarding job at the same time as well. So thank you so much, Steve, for all of the information you've been able to share with us today. I think a lot of this will be able to be stepping stones or tools for people out there that are looking to become a CO or just have questions about the industry in general. So thank you so much.
Thank you for having me.
If you found this video helpful, please subscribe. And if there are any other topics you would like Guardian RFID to cover, please leave your ideas in the comments section below. And until next time, get your team home safe.